Hi everyone, my name is Alisa Tilsner and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. Today I thought we might colour in some images from the Measure of Love stamp set, which is on the retiring list, so it's only available until the end of the month. And we're also using a sentiment from Art Gallery, which is one of my favourites because we're going to be using the Happy Birthday, and it's a really great simple font for a birthday card. So this is the card that we're going to make, and I'm going to show you how I've done the colouring, and I have coloured in blends. So let's get started. Now, all of the products that you see today are available through my online store if you are in Australia. So because we're going to be working with blends, we will need a water-based black ink pad. My lid's a little bit on the grubby side. So I always try and remember that opposites attract. So when we are using our alcohol markers, we need a water-based black ink pad. And when we are using watercolouring, we need a permanent black. So I'm going to start just by stamping up all my bits and pieces. So I have got my scales to start with. I think I have enough room there. So I need my scales. And we've got some cupcakes because we always love cupcakes for our birthday, right? So I'll pop them there as well. I think I've got enough room because I'm going to cut them out as well. Now, when I do my videos, I will probably speed some areas of the card making process up. Okay, and for this one I am stamping both the bowl and the dial at the same time. So just because I don't have all the blocks, I am just going to stamp those two, pop them both on the same block if you've got room to stamp. Okay, so let's start our colouring. I've got black ink on me. I'm going to start with the bowl, I think, because I quite like that. And I'm just going to see whether I can zoom in a little bit more for you guys so you can see exactly what is going on. Now, the colours that I'm going to be using for the bowl and for the cupcake liners is going to be Balmy Blue. So I am actually going to, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I use the bullet tip an awful lot when I do my videos. But for this area, because it's quite a larger area, I am going to use the brush. So I'm going to start by just flicking off into the center. And I'm using, of course, the dark. And then I just usually swing around because it's just easiest for me to flick in the one direction rather than try and flick in the opposite direction. Okay, and then I switch to my light, and I do tend to go backwards and forwards quite a bit. So you can see I'm starting from the edge again, and I'm just trying to flick a little bit further into the center. And it's okay if you get a little bit of a white, but it's also okay if your colours join up. So then I'm just going to come back with my dark blue again, and just with that gentle flicking motion. But you can see I'm not going as far into the centre as I was before. So, and when you do your little flicking, I sort of flick up at the end, and that's how you sort of control how far your colour goes in towards the centre. And then I just come back with my light again and flick over the top. So you can actually do this as many times as you like to get the amount of colour and depth that you want going on, because you can just keep layering your blends. It's great. Now, I am going to come into my bullet tip now for the little rim here, and this is where I can just colour. And just trying to mimic where we've got that lighter area going on. Okay, and I'll go a little bit more on the dark. And then I'm probably just going to put a little bit more dark underneath where that rim would be. And then blend out with my light. Okay, and then I'm just going to let the colours settle and relax. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the scales themselves. So I'm going to do the same type of technique as I did with the bowl for the flat part of the technique. Oh, do you know what? I've just realized in my original card I've forgotten to color a little bit. Silly me. Okay, so now I am using Poppy Parade, and again I'm just going to flick. Be really gentle with your nibs because they will fray if you are a little bit too heavy-handed. So just try and go as light as you possibly can. And that will probably stop any bleeding of the ink outside the black lines as well. So just going backwards and forth between, wrong end, between my light, my dark and my light, and again, just really gentle flicking. I can join these ones up a little bit. Now, I'm not going to join them up too much because I will come back with my dark. And because the light and dark with these guys are fairly close in colour, what I can do is just keep layering up my dark so that I can keep the light in the middle. So, and you can even come in with your bullet tip and go that way as well. Okay, now with this is the little bit that I forgot to do. This little springy action bit, completely forgot it. So I'm just going to do that in, and I will colour the whole thing solid because you can imagine that it sits under and would probably be fairly shadowed up. I'll have to go back and rearrange my other card. Okay, so now for the body, what I'm going to do with this one is just outline my circle, my dial, I should say. And I'm using my dark poppy for this one. Okay, and then I'm also going to go around the outside of this line as well. Now, under those little areas, they will join up, and that is totally fine. But I am going to keep the corners open for this moment. Okay, now coming in with my light, and I'm just going to go around over the top of my dark and just extend it out a little bit. And this one as well. And then the same. Now when you do these corners, and I'm just going to make sure that you guys can see it properly, I'm just going to curve, 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 and leave the tiniest amount of white that there is. So curve, 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 and a little bit of white. Same with the others. Curve, curve. This one's got a bit more space, so you can come in from the bottom as well. And last one. So just try and leave the tiniest amount of white space as you can. It does take a little bit of practice to get that. Like this one, I've actually gone over it completely, so it just does take I still practice. Okay, now with my dark again, I'm going to come around the bottom because we can imagine that that dial might actually be protruding just a little bit, so we want to put a little bit more dark underneath. And then with the light, I'm just going to blend that in so it's not so stark. Okay, that is that one. Now for our cupcakes. So with our dark, and I'm just going to go over the top. I'll just do one to show you, and then I'll perhaps speed up the rest of the video. So leaving a line between the two, And then I'm just going to come in and go over the top. And then with my dark again, I'm just going to come in underneath where the icing is. Okay, so I'm just going to go and do that to all of them, and I'll probably speed up this little bit of videoing at the moment. Okay, now for my frosting I am using Daffodil Delight. You can use any colour you like. So starting with my dark, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a outline on those two swirl lines. Now my light one is starting to run out, so I'm just going to swirl that over the top, and then I'm going to repeat that for all of them. Okay, and then I'm going to paint with Wink of Stella, so I'll speed that up as well. Okay, and now the time has come for our fussy cutting, and I will definitely speed these up or cut it out altogether. So I'll just pull back again, just to give you a bit, now that we've finished colouring, and I will be back once all these guys are cut out. Okay, we have all our little cutouts now. So for this one, I kept thinking, oh, I wish I had some brads. And you know what? I do actually have some brads. How foolish of me for completely forgetting. So what I'm going to do is just using one of our, it's actually retired, it's just a little handheld punch, just a little tiny one. Just going to pop a hole in the center of the dial, and then also carefully just pop a little hole in the center of the dial. And then these brads, they're actually square. So we've got square, black and white, and we also have round. I might use a white one this time. I used a black one on my original card, but we've got black squares and they are matte as well. So we do have them. So when I do things like creating with the windmill stamp set as well, and I think, oh, I wish I had brads. I do have them. I just have to remember to look at my embellishments. Okay, so just like a split pin, so we can actually change our dial if we want. We can swing that around to whatever weight we can want. Okay, so the rest of the card is pretty simple to put together. So I have a base of Balmy Blue, and I've got some designer series paper that is from the Euro Peach designer series paper. So it's got the peaches on one side, but I really like all the patterns that are on the opposite sides. So we're going to adhere them down to our card front. Now this sketch is actually from I think it's a TGIF sketch challenge this week. I thought it would be fun to play with some challenges to get the little mojo and inspiration running. So we'll pop these down. I think they're fairly straight. And then I've just got a rectangle of basic white. And whoops, don't put it down yet because I've got a piece of Poppy Parade, and this is also a retired corner rounder, but if you have a corner rounder, I just thought I would round the corners so that they match nicely with the rounded corners of the scales. So I just want to trim this down because obviously I don't need that big piece, so I'll probably trim it down to about 1/2 inch. And then I can just pop that behind. Look at me talking in inches again. All right, so we need adhesive on that side. And whoops, this is also a bit bigger than what I should prepare a little bit more. I didn't actually trim it down properly. But I think it will be, nope. I think it will be okay. I'll just get my snips out and just trim up any, any like that. Okay, now I can stick it down. So it's going to look a little bit different to my original card, but that's okay, because if I'm giving my card to two different people, they're not going to know what the first one looked like, right? Okay, pop up the scales. So I'm going to put two big ones down. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to use all minis because I will tell you in a second. And I was going to say make sure you put these ones down a little bit further, but I've just gone and popped it up. So we'll move that one down because I'm going to pop the cupcakes behind there. And I'm going to put the mini ones down on here, and that way that will allow this to circle freely, go all the way around, because if you put the big ones there, the little legs of the split pin get caught on them. So you'll make sure that you pop down mini ones for this. Oops, off you get. Okay, and we can pop this down. And then some regular adhesive because we're going to pop them behind. Pops up over the top a little bit, but that's okay. And then our bowl will go alongside. We can pop him underneath and up a little bit higher, so it's like he's in the background.